Chapter 4 Sports Slave The High-Stakes World of Selling Out. I'm not like the other guys in the NBA. I'm different, and it goes beyond the way I look and things I do off the court. Here's the main difference. I speak my mind. Everybody else is going to do what they're told because they're the NBA kids. They have to say something that won't burn their daddy's feet. And their daddy is Commissioner David Stern. I don't care if I burn those feet. You're nothing as a man if you can't speak from the heart. There are people in this league who allow themselves to be controlled by the image the league wants to project. They're the ones who are scared they might say the wrong thing and get punished for it. That's not me. I say what I feel in my heart and in my mind. The NBA image of a man is the one they put out on the commercials, with the guys smiling and waving to the crowd, all that happy horse shit. They want everyone to be Grant Hill, a guy from Duke with all the flashy moves. Grant Hill can play. I've got no problem with him, but there isn't room for some other kind of player out there. Some other kind of man? But isn't there room? I don't fit into the mold of the NBA man, and I think I've been punished financially for it. Nobody wants to hear an athlete cry and whine about the money he makes, but respect comes in different forms in different professions. Everybody likes to be appreciated for what they can do. Kids like to be complimented for what they can do in school. Cab drivers like to be appreciated with good tips, and basketball players like to be paid in line with their production on the court. Everybody competes in this league, for rebounds, for wins, for money, for women. I know what other players at my position make, and they know what I make. It may be childish, but we compare. I make $2.5 million a year. Nobody is going to feel sorry for me because of that, and nobody should. But the people also need to understand the kind of money that's available out there. The NBA is a billion-dollar business. They're filling arenas all over the place. Walk into any mall in any city in the United States and you'll see at least 3 stores selling licensed NBA jerseys, shorts, sweatpants, baseball caps. The money is there for some people, but for others the door is closed. I make a lot of money. But when you look at my performance, my contribution, then you see I'm way in the back of the NBA's money train. I think I should... What about Pippen, though? I think I should be paid as one of the top 3 or 4 forwards in the league. Derrick Coleman of the Philadelphia 76ers makes more than $7 million a year, and I think I'm better than Derrick Coleman. The only thing he does better than Dennis Rodman is score points. The problem is most people would think that statement is foolish because most people think scoring points is the only way you win games. I think my career shows that I've come up with a different way, and it's better than the one Derrick Coleman uses. I rebound and I play defense, and those 2 things help me make the people around me better players. David Robinson is a perfect example of that. He won a scoring title and an MVP award in the 2 years he played with me in San Antonio. In Detroit, Bill Laimbeer was able to stay outside and hit big shots because Chuck Daly knew I would be inside and taking care of the boards. Derrick Coleman scores, and that's about it. Who benefits from what he does on the floor? Only Derrick Coleman. Also, he really has a problem with Derrick Coleman. Also, Derrick Coleman does not have 2 championship rings. I do. Derrick Coleman does not bring people to the building, and I do. Attendance in San Antonio was 2nd in the NBA my first year there. They moved into the Alamo Dome that year, so they had more seats to sell, and my presence helped the team sell them. That's part of the reason they got me. We averaged 22,053 fans a game my first year, and the only other team to average more than 20,000 was the Charlotte Hornets, who averaged more than 23,000. The Spurs had never been as far as the Western Conference Finals until I got there. In 94 and 95, we had the league's best record and went to the conference finals. David Robinson won Most Valuable Player award, largely because I was there to take some of the rebounding pressure off him. I bring something to the people. Derrick Coleman doesn't. Chris Dudley doesn't. And the Portland Trail Blazers are paying him $6 million a year. Anthony Mason doesn't do what I do. And the New York Knicks signed him for more than $4 million a year. To me, none of this computes. I've learned something through all the years of diving for loose balls and coming down with the flamboyant rebound. People want excitement, enjoyment, and a winning team. They also want something different. From the last time I colored my hair, I knew that. I walked onto the court in San Antonio with bleached blonde hair, and right away I saw how much those people loved what Dennis Rodman was giving them. The excitement was right there, right now. That's what this game is all about. And all I ask is that somebody and see it and appreciate it. It's no different than a waitress wanting to be acknowledged when people keep coming back to her restaurant because her service is good. I feel I've been used for the past 4 or 5 years to provide entertainment to the fans and money to the league owners. They used me for marketing in San Antonio because they knew I was popular with the fans. Other teams did the same thing. When we were on the road, you could watch the commercials from the other team and hear them telling people, "Come out and watch Dennis Rodman and the San Antonio Spurs." Same thing on the radio. They didn't have a problem with me being wild and crazy when it came time to fill the arenas. But every time it was my turn, when was it time for somebody to step forward and say, "Okay, let's take care of Dennis Rodman and give him the security he needs"? I was told there was nothing left. Before the 90-91 season, I signed a 6-year contract worth $10 million. Not bad money for a guy who traveled such a bizarre road to the NBA. I was coming off my first NBA Defensive Player of the Year award, and I played in my first All-Star game. I was on a roll, and the Pistons were on a roll. We just won our second straight NBA championship in Detroit, and I was thinking I could stay there for the rest of my career. Then the salaries went crazy the next couple of years, and I just kept getting better and better. I was second in the league in rebounding in 90 and 91 and won another Defensive Player of the Year award. The next year, I led the league in rebounding with 18.7 boards a game, the highest average in the NBA in 20 years. The contract I signed didn't look so good then. The Pistons management agreed with this. They said they would take care of me, but they didn't. That's why I was traded in the first place. They said they understood my situation. But I guess understanding it and doing something about it are two different things. The same thing happened twice in San Antonio. In remarkably similar ways, Spurs general manager Bob Bass told me they couldn't do anything right away, but they assured me they would redo the contract as soon as the season ended. I was led to believe the contract renegotiation was part of the package when I was traded for Sean Elliott. I wouldn't have accepted the trade if I didn't think they were going to rip up my contract. After that year ended, I'm all ready to see a 2-year contract for about $14 million. Those were the numbers that were on the table. Instead, Bass, and the coach John Lucas left. The new guys, mostly general manager Greg Popovich, said they didn't know anything about it. I give my heart and soul to this game, and just once I'd like to see someone give some of theirs back to me. I give a lot of enjoyment to the people who watch me play basketball. People who watch me play go through the same emotions I do on the court. I look at myself as one of the 3 top draws in the NBA. If it's not Shaquille O'Neal and if it's not Michael Jordan, it's Dennis Rodman. And those guys get paid way beyond anything I could hope to get. If you want to talk total income, NBA salary plus endorsements, Michael makes more than $35 million a year. Shaq, more than $25 million. I weigh in at $3 million total. I'm not even in the same universe with those guys when it comes to pay. The system doesn't work for me. I work for the system. The league gets what it wants, and the team I'm playing for gets what it wants. Then there's me, out in the fucking cold. When I try to speak up rationally and explain how wrong it is, it's always the same. Wait your turn. They tell me they'd like to wait and see how I perform, and then they'll assess the situation. But assess this. I led the league in rebounding 4 straight years and nothing changed. I brought money and recognition to the San Antonio Spurs and nothing changed. What more could I do? After going through it for so long, I hear only one voice, and it's saying, "The hell with you, Dennis Rodman. Thanks a lot. Bye. We're going to screw you, and we're going to continue to screw you." All of this has to do with my personality. They don't think I'm the right kind of family man or role model or locker room leader. There's something in that I don't understand. I thought all along I was a basketball player. I thought that was the only thing that mattered. You don't pay me to be a guardian angel. You don't pay me to go to team picnics and hug everybody's wife and kiss everybody's kids. You pay me to play this game. If I do that, it should be good enough. With me, it is never good enough. I'm nothing more than a sports slave. If it's going to be about the money, then I might as well play that game and try to get what I'm worth. We're all being used in this business, and some guys can sit back and take this trade-off, the NBA's money for their soul. Sorry, but I can't do it that way. The NBA wants everyone to be the same. They want the whole league to be filled with guys who never say anything controversial and never do anything that they consider bad for the game. They get away with it because most of the players in the NBA are brainwashed to think that way. These guys were the top dogs in college, and they expect to be treated the same way when they get to the NBA. The whole world is just one long golden road. I look at it through different eyes. There aren't many guys in the league who came from a background like mine. Not many NBA players went from being a janitor after high school, then to Cook County Junior College in southeastern Oklahoma. When I was 20 years old, I was a janitor in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. When Shaquille O'Neal was 20, he was making millions of dollars and publishing his autobiography. So many of these guys were practically household names when they were in high school. Jason Kidd, Jamal Mashburn, Anthony Hardaway. They were known by basketball people across the country by the time they were in high school juniors. They were groomed to play in the NBA from a young age. They've been after that one goal ever since they can remember, and there was always someone there to tell them they were going to make it. Once a player like that gets to the NBA, he acts like it's something owed to him. For me, this is a totally mind-boggling experience. My path wasn't golden. It wasn't even paved. I didn't really play basketball in high school, and the only people who knew about me when I was 18 were my family and the police. It might not have been the ideal background, but it gave me another perspective. I know something other than basketball, and I know what can happen if basketball isn't here. David Stern and the league would love it if I just went away. They'd give anything to have Dennis Rodman out of their hair, so they didn't have to worry about fining me or suspending me or whatever. They wouldn't have to worry about what I might be doing next to tarnish the sacred image of the NBA. The incident I had with John Stockton in the second game of our first-round playoff series against the Utah Jazz in 1994 is a perfect example. If you took a survey of all the players in the NBA, asking them who the dirtiest guard in the NBA is, who do you think they'd say? They'd probably say Stockton, but nobody outside the league would guess him. John Stockton gets away with all kinds of shit on the court. He throws elbows like you wouldn't believe. In that series, he was playing his usual game, doing dirty shit away from the ball when the referees couldn't see him. Everyone gets tired of his act, and I decided to do something about it. When he came through the lane trying to run through a screen on offense, I stuck my hip out and sent him flying. It was blatant. I wasn't trying to hide anything. The worst kept secret in the NBA is the star system. Everybody knows it exists. It protects guys like Stockton who do things on the court that only the guys who are out there could know. There's a picture here of him hip checking him. In the league's eyes, certain people can do nothing wrong. The league fined me $10,000 and suspended me for the next game, the third game of the series. We went on to get our asses kicked in that game by a score of 105-72. David Robinson did not show up for that game. He was there and he played, but he really didn't show up. He had 16 points and 11 rebounds. Just another case of him coming up small in big games. The Stockton incident got me a meeting with David Stern. He called me into the office to discuss the situation before we flew to Utah for the third game. Stern and everybody else in the league thought I was playing dirty, and he wanted to make sure I knew he was setting out to clean up the league. I sat down across from him and said, "You're a great player without that stuff, Dennis. You don't have to play like that." I told him the truth. I really didn't do anything that other guys don't do. It's just that I did it out in the open, where everybody could see it. If you're going to if you're going to complain to me and make me look like an asshole, why not complain to everybody else who does the same damn thing but doesn't get noticed for it? Maybe Stern doesn't even know what goes on out there. Maybe he doesn't know that Karl Malone gets away with all kinds of elbows and hips when he's under the basket. But even if Stern doesn't know about these things, I still don't think it's fair to pick out one person and make him out to be the dirtiest player in the league. If you're trying to clean up a mess, don't make me the example for the whole league. I'm an easy target. Too easy. They point to me as the bad guy, and the public accepts it. They've come to expect that Dennis Rodman is going to be the bad boy of the NBA. They wouldn't do that with John Stockton. It might change the way people think about him. The NBA decides who's going to be the chosen ones. When Grant Hill came out of Duke, he was anointed immediately. The publicity machine was in motion. He had already won Rookie of the Year award. He had already made the All-Star team. The league decided what he was going to do before he even played a game in the NBA. Grant Hill fit the image of the NBA man perfectly. He came from Duke, so he'd be exposed nationally 1,000,000 times over. Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. He had the right looks. His father, Calvin Hill, was a great pro football player. His mother is a big-time Washington lawyer. He was articulate and lived a clean life. And on the basketball court, he was flashy with his dunks and scored a lot of points. It was so perfect for the NBA, and they could hardly believe their luck. I thought it was pathetic. The league just decided that Grant Hill would go right to the top. He had the commercials, the endorsements, everything. It was decided when Michael Jordan was off playing baseball, Grant Hill would be the next god of basketball. He would take the throne from Michael. What I want to know is, why didn't they just crawl up into his ass with their fucking telescope and tell us what else was going to happen? Let us know the whole future, bro. But a funny thing happened to the NBA during Hill's rookie year. Here comes Jason Kidd of the Dallas Mavericks playing his ass off. Kidd is a hell of a player, but he didn't have the perfect NBA pedigree. He'd had some trouble before the draft when he supposedly ran from his car after he got into an accident on a freeway in Oakland, California. It was real early in the morning and he was coming from a club that made all the papers. So some NBA teams wondered if his character was good enough for the NBA. Dallas decided it was, and Kidd ended up doing more to help his team than Grant Hill did. Kidd put the NBA in a spot. So what do? Co-rookies of the year? That was their chicken shit solution. I have a question. How can you have a co-rookie of the year? How can you do that? Were they both exact same? Anyone who thinks this is a coincidence is dead wrong. The same thing happened in the 1993 All-Star Game when John Stockton and Karl Malone shared the MVP when the game was played in Utah. That was just so precious. The league wants to project this clean image, and they'll do anything to protect it. That image is all well and good, but damn, don't overwhelm people with it and make like everybody has to be like that. Everybody is not like Grant Hill. It's fine that he is, but I'm not. The best years of my career so far were spent in Detroit playing for Chuck Daly. He didn't buy into the NBA's line about clean image. He let me and everybody on the team be a man. If you produced in practice and in games, you played. If you didn't, you sat. It didn't matter who you were or what you'd done. In my second year, I started taking minutes from Adrian Dantley. He had been in the league for a long time. He'd been an all-star. But I was bringing more to the team, so I played. Chuck Daly wasn't worried about my life outside the court unless it affected my play on the court. He wasn't going to structure my life for me. I didn't have to be a certain way. He just gave me the opportunity. And when opportunity arrives for Dennis Rodman, he's going to dive in head first. I will not take anything for granted because I started at the bottom and worked my way up to get to what I have. There are people out there who would go to see me play basketball who wouldn't go to see Grant Hill. People enjoy watching me play. They like me and the things I stand for. The real people I see in clubs and on the street, they like me. They don't identify with Grant Hill. I attract the grunge crowd, the Generation X types. They know what I'm about. I'm probably not the favorite among the guys in the suits and ties, but the real people come up to me after games and say, "When I come to see you play, I can't believe some of the things you do." I ask them, Why do you come see me play? Almost every time they say the same thing. Because it's interesting. What a dumb answer. They know it's not your typical white-collar guy going out there doing something that millions of Americans wish they could do. Dunk a basketball. I come with 365 days worth of different equipment. And people like that. I think people all over the world would like that too. But I never had any hope of playing for any of the Olympic teams. In the Barcelona Olympics, dream team with Dennis Rodman was a pipe dream. I didn't really care about it, but there are times when I think it would be really cool if I could play in an Olympic team. It would be something I could look back on someday and be glad I did. I wonder if he did. Most of all, I'd like to be able to show the world that our country's athletes aren't all from the same cookie cutter. On the court, I think I could be the perfect player on a team full of scorers. The Olympic teams are like a big version of the Bulls, and any of those teams could have used a down and dirty rebounder who didn't want the ball. There was no way in hell it was going to happen in Barcelona, though. It's that same bullshit I always face. Basketball wasn't the primary concern. I think the people at USA Basketball were afraid I might take over the spotlight if they put me in there. I'd be a big distraction, just like always. I guess I have to learn to live with that. They might as well have put Big Distraction above my locker in San Antonio. It was practically my name. Every time something came up to throw the team off track, the problem was me being a big distraction. I was a distraction my first year there because of the Stockton incident in the playoffs. That was the same series Madonna showed up to create another big distraction. My second year in San Antonio, I became a big distraction when I didn't join the huddle in the playoffs and when I took my shoes off on the bench. They made me look like I was out of control. They created the distraction by treating me like a 2-year-old kid. I wouldn't have acted that way if they had committed to me. Greg Popovich was the big problem in San Antonio. We didn't get along from the beginning. He's Mr. Discipline, Mr. Straight, Mr. Conservative. It was his first general manager's job, and he wanted everyone to know how important he was. He had no idea how to take me. Popovich gave me the same line Boss had. He told me to wait until after the season. I knew I was being lied to and led on, and it got to the point where I knew they were going to keep doing it. They were going to hold shit over my head the whole time I was there. Whatever I did could and would be held against me. It was like they were keeping a list. The deal is, I know I screwed up in San Antonio, but I did things for a reason. People out there don't realize they treated me like crap. Another thing people don't realize is that I've been taking my shoes off for years. I hate to wear shoes, and if you saw my feet, you know why. Ew. They look like old tree branches all gnarled and bent. I don't like to have them all cramped up in shoes any more than I have to. Everyone got the team's version of everything. My version hasn't been told until now. I'll talk a lot more about the shoes and the huddle later, but the point here is they promised one thing and delivered another. After 2 years, I was sick of it. What was I supposed to do? Break out another jar of Vaseline and say, "Okay, here you go. I'm bending over for you guys again." I wouldn't do it, and they knew it. That's why they traded me to Chicago for next to nothing. I was going to sit out and hold on to my pride and stick to what I believed in. I wasn't going to go back for a third year in a row and subject myself to the crap they delivered to Dennis Rodman. I was ready to sit out for the season. I had 2 strikes on me, and they wanted me to go back up to the plate again. They were saying, "Here, swing at this little pea. See if you can hit it. If you can hit it, you can have a new contract." That's unfair, and it's crap. The Spurs tried to tell me they didn't have any money. But if you don't have the money, how can you pay David Robinson $9 million a year and Sean Elliott $6 million a year? Where's that money coming from? All I want is a 2-year deal that's going to help put my mind at ease. I think a lot of NBA teams use the salary cap as an excuse. When a team wants to do something, it always seems to be able to do it. Larry Johnson is making $87 million over 12 years in Charlotte. That's almost enough to buy a team. Down the road, Shaquille O'Neal is going to want $100 million, and he'll get it, all within the salary cap. I look around and I see Chris Dudley, Derrick Coleman, Dale Davis, and Anthony Mason making huge money, and I see injustice. Who buys a ticket to see those guys play? I don't think the league wants to see me get what I deserve. The less I get, the better for the league, because they think I might set a bad precedent for players coming up. If I get what I want, what's to stop younger players from speaking their minds? This isn't about greed for me. I want to be paid so my daughter Alexis is taken care of for the rest of her life. I'm in a league that's supposed to do those things. Provide for you now so you have something when your skills are gone. I'm not looking for anything fancy in this. I can go live in a one-bedroom apartment, and if my daughter is taken care of, I'll be all right. If I get a new contract, the first thing I'm going to do is take $250,000 and put it in an account for Alexis. There's a nice picture of Alexis here. It says, Alexis has her dad's strong legs, and she's wearing a little tutu. She won't be able to touch it until she's 18, and then it can be used for college. By the time she's 25, she can have it all. That's my motivation. If a team made a commitment to me, I think I might be willing to play by the rules. I've come to the point in my career where I could be a good little boy at the right price. You use me? Great. Now let me use you for a while. Give me $15 million for 2 years and you can use me. We'll be using each other because you'll be giving me security for the rest of my life. We'll both get what we want. Think about it this way. If I can bring you $50 million, why not give me $15 million? If I can bring you $50 million the first year and $100 million the next year and keep the game interesting for millions of Americans, why not give me $15 million for 2 years? If someone told you to spend $15 million to make $150 million, don't you think you'd do it? It won't happen. Of course, not even close. I know that much going in. I've been one of the most productive guys in the league for the last 4 or 5 years, and I feel I've been used within the system with not enough in return. If we're going to look at this as a business and not as a sport, then let's look at my contribution to the Spurs franchise in those same terms. I gave that team national exposure. I gave them a new life. I gave them acceptance in the NBA as well as around the world. The television ratings for Spurs games my last year showed that I'm a big draw in this league. The highest rated playoff game, not counting the finals, was the 5th game of the Western Conference Finals between us and the Rockets. With all the crap that was going on with me in those playoffs, do you think those people were tuning in to see whether David Robinson could finally handle Hakeem Olajuwon? I don't think so. I think people were tuning in to see what I was going to do next. In the 9 years I've been in the NBA, rookies have gotten a hell of a lot more valuable, even though the talent level, in my opinion, has gotten worse. It used to be that rookies had to earn their time on the court and their money. When the rookie salaries started going crazy, the top guys got contracts like the one Larry Johnson got, $87 million, over 12 years. Rookies started taking up all the salary cap money, and it meant that a lot of players who had worked their asses off to make this the most prominent game in the world got brushed aside. It pisses me off when they give a guy like Glenn Robinson $9 million a year when he doesn't understand the first thing about winning in the NBA. They see that he can score, and that's enough. The Milwaukee Bucks picked Robinson with the first pick of the '94 draft, and I can just see them sitting at the table after the contract was signed. I picture someone saying, "Okay, Glenn, go out there and score some points." The Bucks have the right to give Robinson whatever they want, but I don't think they'll ever win a championship with that philosophy. They'll give that kind of money to a guy who has shown one thing, that he can score in college. But nobody will give it to a guy who can control a game, make other players better, and bring fans to the arena. Why not pay that guy? The rookie salary cap was the best thing to come out of the new contract between the players and the league. It was about time somebody did something to correct that crazy system. When I talk about money, I always get hit with the same question. Well, somebody says, "Are you going to show up for practice?" The perception out there, one created by the Spurs, is that I don't show up for practice. I show up for practice. I missed one practice during my last year in San Antonio, and I missed it because I didn't feel well. They didn't buy that reason, so they made a big deal out of it. When another guy says he doesn't feel well, they tell him to get some rest and take care of himself. When John Lucas was my coach in San Antonio, he used to say, "Dennis isn't a problem. Sometimes he's a couple minutes late to practice, but all we do is shoot at the beginning of practice. Dennis doesn't shoot anyway, so what's the problem?" Another thing I hear is, "Are you going to be in the huddle?" This whole huddle thing really pisses me off. I'm in the huddle. If you look at every game film, I'm in the huddle. If you look at every team in the league, how many guys who are in the huddle are looking at people in the damn stadium? Watch a game, and you'll see a lot of players, not just me, looking around the arena, wondering what they can get after the game. I bet you'll see more of that than guys staring at the coach. It comes down to this. None of that small stuff matters. If I don't deserve the money, why don't I deserve it? Yeah. Could David Robinson sit there and say, I deserve $8 million even though I've never won a championship? If you take a poll about David Robinson around the league, what kind of response would you get? Is he a good citizen? Yes. Is he a good basketball player? Yes. Can he win the big one? No. Can Dennis Rodman win the big one? Yes. So you tell me, should I get paid or not? David Robinson is a great player. He won the scoring title my first year in San Antonio, and he won the MVP in my second year. The deal is, though, he has to accept one fact. If you're going to be the MVP in the league, you've got to go out there and prove it in the postseason. Hakeem Olajuwon did that. David Robinson didn't. I don't look at myself as an MVP. I'm not competing with David Robinson or Michael Jordan for the spotlight. I'm part of a unit. I'm where nobody wants to be. I do the dirty work. I take the flack. I take the pressure off my teammates. It's what I love to do, and I wish somebody would see the value of it. The NBA believes that if you play for a team and get paid by a team, you're the property of that team for 24 hours a day. They want to know what you eat, where you sleep, who you're sleeping with. This might not be a problem for most players, but it is for me. The league has this fascination with me and my off-court activities. Why should I let them know what I'm doing with my time? My job is to do what I do best, to go to practice and play in the games. After practice, it's my life. They don't control me after I leave that building. It's not their business what I do after I leave that building. I'll say it again. You pay me to play basketball. Just because you pay me, I don't give you the right to keep an eye on me 24 hours a day. The job of management is to provide what the city needs, a winner. They step over the line when they think they have 24-hour surveillance on a player because he doesn't go home with a wife and 3 kids. For years, the league has thought I've been on drugs. It's the only way they can explain me, I guess. They don't realize I would have burned out a long time ago if that was true. It wouldn't have been a big secret. In 1989, when I was with the Pistons, the NBA hired someone to follow me around. They wanted to know what the fuck was going on with me, so they put someone on me. This might be the perfect example of what I mean when I call myself a sports slave. Not even my private life was private. Chuck Daly came to me one day after practice and said, "The league's following you, Dennis." They had a private investigator out trying to figure out what I was doing away from the building. I never met the guy or saw the guy, and I didn't really give a shit. Nobody came up to me and said, "Hi, I am a private investigator for the NBA," and I don't think they operate like that. I'd like to know whether that was the only time that this was done to me. I think that there's a good chance it happened while I was in San Antonio too. One thing they might find out would surprise a lot of people. How many people in the NBA will come in before a game, work out, and go play for 40 minutes, and then come back after the game and work out again for another hour and a half? How many people in the league do you think do that? I only know of one, Dennis Rodman. I go into the weight room before a game and loosen up with some light weights. I like to feel strong when I go out on the floor, but I don't want to be bulky and stiff. I might warm up my legs on the stair machine or the stationary bicycle. I listen to Pearl Jam and get my mind right. After the game, I'll lift heavy weights. If I find it, I lift after the game. If I find I lift after the game, I have a longer recovery time than if I come in the next morning. I do a lot of repetitions to keep my upper body toned. Quickness is such a part of my game that I don't want to do anything that might make me bulky and slow. That private investigator probably wondered what he was doing sitting around all that time I was working out. He must have found that part of his job to be pretty boring. I want every team in the league to interview Dennis Rodman, to see what he's all about and what he's thinking. Okay. Chicago did that before they made the trade. And what happened? They made the trade. They put me through a 3-day interview, sort of a tryout for the mind. They talked to former teammates of mine, former coaches, friends. They went all out. I don't always give people much when I meet with them, but when they take the time, they get a totally different view of me. People know I love the game. I love it for all the same reasons I loved it when I came into the league 9 years ago as a fresh-faced kid with an unusual past. I love it for the basketball, but basketball now has totally changed. It's more about making money than worrying about the people who are playing the game, and I've come to the conclusion that's the way I have to be too. They had some conservative people running the team in San Antonio, guys who don't know anything about basketball. Popovich looked at me and said, well, he's not a family man. His image isn't right for this team. They couldn't pull their heads out of their asses long enough to realize I was exactly what they should have wanted. He should have been standing there looking at me and saying, we need this guy because he's going to come in and do the job. I'm the basketball version of a gravedigger. Rebounding and playing defense is like putting bodies in the hole. Nobody else on the floor is going to devote his whole career to that, so pay me for doing what the other guys don't want to do. If you want to pay me to go out there and play scared, I'll play scared. If you want me to go out there and kill myself for the troops, I'm going to do that. I'm the one who does that. I save everybody's ass on that damn court. I save David Robinson's ass. I save everybody's ass. I will take the heat so those guys can go out under the lights and do a job well. If people can't see that, they can kiss my ass. The life of the athlete is temporary. You get a lot in a short period of time. A lot of money, women, attention, and then it's gone. There's a risk of being tricked into believing it's going to last forever, but you have to remind yourself not to trust it. You can't trust any of it. The money, the women, or the attention. In the end, none of it lasts. When a player's career ends, the league doesn't give a shit about him, bro. When you're used up, everybody moves on. The league wants you to play the good soldier for the time that you're playing, but after that, the lights are out and they're not home. They tell you to go pick up the plastics for recycling. What? Okay. This life is like a swimming pool. You dive into the water, but you can't see how deep it is the first time you dive in. It's like there's no bottom. You can go down, and the water goes on forever. Then you get tired, and you get out for a rest. The next time you dive in, everything looks the same, but you crack your head on the bottom. The problem is, you just never know when the depth of that pool is going to change. There's no doubt this life is full of unique advantages. If I was still working at the Dallas airport, I don't think I would have dated Madonna. I don't think so. But there are disadvantages. There are dark sides to fame. A player dreams of being a superstar, but he doesn't want people flocking all over him asking for an autograph. He doesn't want to run into a store to pick up something real quick and end up telling people they can't have his name scribbled on a piece of paper. Those people will remember that too in their minds. You'll be an asshole for life. There's nothing you can do to change their minds. There are thousands of kids out there in the projects in the cities thinking they're going to work hard and get basketball scholarship. They're going to use the game to get out. I say great. I say go for it. A lot of people will tell you it's a lie, that you can't get out that way. They say nobody does. They have statistics and all that. But I say why not go for it? I got out that way, and as long as there's a living example of the dream, kids are going to chase it. But if you're attempting to make it into the pros, you have to learn in college about what the NBA and professional life have to offer. You have to develop a sense of awareness of what you're getting into, because what you see from the outside isn't always what you get from the inside. I can make a 60-minute video that's going to show you a detailed look at what the NBA life, good and bad, is all about. It'll be a look you won't get from the league. The video will tell them where the prostitutes are, where the drugs are, where the best women are. I had to learn this all on the fly, by trial and error. I'd never been around anything even close to what I saw my rookie year with the Pistons. I went along with my eyes wide open, ready for anything, and I pretty much found whatever I wanted. The NBA gives you a lot of different peepholes to look through. You put your quarters in and wonder, what's the next show to come up? It's always new and exciting, and you always keep throwing in more quarters. You think you're invincible with the fame and fortune, but you're still the same person. The only difference is you're selling your soul to a business, and sooner or later, you're going to get burned. It takes only one thing to bring you down. It could be the money. It could be the whores. It could be your wife, your girlfriend. It could be anything. Some things going to suck you down. It's the price you pay for being in this business. I've seen just about everything that's out there, and it's not easy to shock me. Once you've had a total stranger ask you to fuck his wife while he watches, you're not going to be easily shocked. There's only one thing that shocks me. I'm still here. I was shocked that I got here, and I'm shocked that I'm still here. I don't know how long I expected to be in the league, but I do know that's all I expected. To be in the league. No rebounding titles, no Defensive Player of the Year awards, and I didn't expect the dramatic changes in the league today. I've come to realize we are all the prostitutes. We're professional prostitutes, wearing a game jersey and uniform, running 7 miles in 2 hours. So if we're already established for what we are, the only thing left to discuss is price. For 5 years, I felt like the best prostitute in a high-class whorehouse. I'm the only one who brings the house and all the johns and all the money, but every year it's all the same. All the other girls get paid more than I do.